Good afternoon, everyone. So this session on industry of tomorrow, the process and behavioral changes needed to become a clean system. We have 4 speakers. So what I do that initially I'll introduce you one by one, and you can give your opening remarks, and then we can follow it up with the question and answer. So I introduce first of all Mr. Subhajit Sarkar. He is Executive Director of Operation at Indian Oil Limited. He has over 3 decades of experience in refining operation, a graduate from BIT Sindri with a postgraduate diploma in business management from MDI Gurgaon. He started his career at Haldia Refinery in 1993, and he has held key roles in Haldia, Panipat and Gujarat refineries. His expertise span technical services, process monitoring, energy conservations, and health, safety and environment. He has significantly contributed to enhancing refinery operations, safety protocols and sustainable practices, making him a notable leader in the oil and gas sector. So now I request Sarkar sir to please give his opening remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ajay, and good afternoon to all of you. It's my honor and privilege to be a part of this esteemed panel, and I am humbled by the introduction that Mr. Dixit gave about me. But whatever I have accumulated over the years, I would be very happy to share with you in this forum, whatever is relevant. Today's the very topic is very pertinent. Everything is about how we can reduce our carbon emissions. So, and this particular panel is about the discussion on process and behavioral changes needed to become a clean system. So during the course of the discussion, I am sure our esteemed panelists, guided by your moderator, will be sharing the thoughts. And just one thought from my side is that I am from the refineries division, so whatever I'll be speaking will be on the refineries, and for this Indian Oil Corporation, refineries division contribute to 97% of the emissions. So we have to play a very big role in controlling the industrial pollution, thinking of our future generation. So I'm sure whatever we discuss, it will be a good takeaway for all of us, and let us hope for a very meaningful discussion ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. So as we all know that industrial pollution poses a significant threats to sustainable development. And we all know that the industries mainly are contributing towards the environmental degradation, air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution. So the need of the hour for many ages is to have a clean environment with sustainable development. So to talk upon that, I'll welcome Mr. Govind G. He's Vice President Business Development at TRUALT Bioenergy. Did I pronounce it right? TRUALT? Yeah?
Yes, sir. TRUALT.
Okay.
Thank you.
So he's a seasoned leader in the energy sector with over 16 years of expertise in oil and gas industries, both in upstream and downstream. His strategic acumen in techno-commercial aspects, contracts and marketing has positioned him as a key influencer in marketing, channel management and network development. With a passion of innovation and sustainability, Mr. Govind thrives on discovering new opportunities and fostering meaningful connections. He is committed to driving the next wave of sustainable energy solution in a rapidly evolving industry. That's a very good vision and mission of yours, Mr. Govind. So please give your opening remarks.
Thank you, Ajay. That was quite an introduction. Respective panelists, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all. So I represent here TRUALT Bioenergy. So our company is a leading biofuel company in the country, and we are the largest manufacturer of ethanol by capacity. And we are also looking forward to value-added products going forward from ethanol downward integration into value-added products and CBG, manufacturing of CBG and other products. So I am looking forward for a very fruitful discussion. Of course, the topic is very relevant in the current scenario and closely related to whatever we do actually, whatever process we are involved in and whatever products we produce, we ensure that it is environment friendly and is sustainable nature. Looking forward for a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Govind. Our next panelist is Mr. Rajat Kumar. He is an HSE leader at Cummins, India since 2019. He spearheads the company's HSE management system and sustainability initiatives. With 19 years of experience across manufacturing, retail, and construction sectors, he has led Cummins India to numerous accolades for exemplary HSE practices. Mr. Rajat holds an MTech in HSE, that's great, from UPES Dehradun, and a master's degree in disaster mitigation. What a lethal combination. I have also that kind of. So he leads a team of 120 HSE professionals implementing the company's 2030 sustainability goals. His leadership focuses on achieving excellence in safety and environmental responsibility across 26 sites and 25 aftermarket locations. I hand over the mic to Mr. Rajat for his opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Dixit. The topic, industries for tomorrow, I think the word which is prominent here is change. And change is never easy to adapt. But there is also a Japanese term called kaizen, which says change is good. So, for any disruption, for any good thing, for any mass scale improvement, change is the first step. Now, change at different level in this context, industry as well as behavioral, which require process which involves humans, is a tough ask. But if done in a structured and a very thoughtful manner, then definitely it is possible. It has happened in past, it will happen in future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rajat ji. So as we all know that change is the only constant in our day-to-day life, our professional life. And that is why ONGC have launched Project Parivartan, the project change, under the leadership of Anurag Sharma sir, who is sitting here, the chairman of the conference, and through which we are achieving our HSE goals and sustainability goals. So, Subhajit ji, I would like to pose my first question to you, sir. That is, what are the key organizational and cultural shifts, that is cultural changes required to transition from a traditional, like business as usual, resource intensive approach to a clean and sustainable system, and how leaders like you effectively drive and communicate these changes?
Yeah, thank you, Ajay ji. So there are two aspects to this. How you drive the change, because change is always difficult, and what is the role of the leaders in driving the change. So, as I told in my opening remarks, we are at the crossroads. Our oil and gas industry has been emitting a lot of carbon dioxide. So when it was first envisaged, the industries came up, it was more of the development that was the focus. But now, along with development, it is the environment that we have to look into. And now in many of our decisions, the environment take the lead over the business requirements. So I won't say that the business requirement cannot go hand in hand with the environment. Rather, we do have a win-win situation, because this process of change is basically targeted towards reducing our carbon footprint. So we have number of ways to reduce the carbon footprint. Refinery being an industry of its kind, and most of the industries are responsible for the scope 1 and the scope 2 emissions. So whatever we do in reducing the emissions will give us monetary benefits also. How? The fuel that we consume is converted to carbon dioxide. So the lesser the fuel we consume, so more we benefit in terms of converting that fuel to products. In our industry, the fuel consumed is from the crude oil itself. A part of the crude oil, either gas or liquid, comes as a fuel. And that fuel contributes to the carbon dioxide. So if we can reduce our fuel consumption by various measures, then the profitability will increase as well as the emissions will decrease. Now the question is, whenever we are looking at a new plant or a modification in the refinery or in the industry, we didn't used to quite look into the configuration which will reduce our fuel consumption. We give priority to the product yield, the generation of more value-added products. But here, the mindset, the process that we are talking of, needs to be relooked. And now, whenever we are going into such initiatives, we are first looking into the carbon footprint of these investments. We have been consulting our licensors. So when they give the design of a unit, the priority is on maximizing the product. We require a particular yield pattern from the crude. And that yield is maximized at the least inputs, least amount of crude. So it will improve the yield. But when it comes to this minimizing the energy inputs, then another thought has to be put into the system. So whenever people are working out, when they go to the drawing board, they have to have this at the back of the mind that we should reduce our energy inputs. Now most of the refineries which are coming up, the grassroots refineries, the greenfield ones, they are having the target of Q1, D1. That is going to quartile 1 of this Solomon benchmarking system from day 1 of the operation. So Solomon is a world-renowned associate. They do the global benchmarking of various oil and gas industries. And quartile 1 means we are at the particular refinery will be in the first 25% of the global industries. So now the question is, when everyone strives to be quartile 1, then the goalpost gets shifted. So it becomes tougher for everyone to reach that quartile 1, so everyone will improve. So that's why we need to continuously benchmark our system and incorporate these things in our decision making, that our profitability will automatically come from reducing the energy footprint by improving our energy efficiency. Now, when it comes to the behavioral part of it, our people who are involved in the decision making or who are doing the job in the field, they also need to be, I would say, trained to a certain extent that they should be conscious about their activities which consume fuel. So whenever this fuel consumption is there, people should be given training that how you should reduce the fuel to get the same output. Fuel reduction will automatically give you a benefit in the carbon footprint. Now when it comes to the leadership role in this, leaders have the crucial, because this is a top-driven thing, and whatever, there are two types of, I would say, ways to reduce a carbon footprint. One is you use technology to improve the equipment performance. So there, your people will be using the equipment. It's the equipment that will take care of your carbon footprint emission. For example, you bring a more efficient motor, which will give the same output with a lesser input. Or you get more motor-driven drives, which consume comparatively less energy. The emissions from the power generation is less than the steam drives that we were using. So here, your people need not adjust themselves. It is the technology that you are thrusting on them, or I would say. So that automatically will improve your efficiency. So as leaders, we should focus on how we can bring in more energy efficient system, maybe at a higher cost, but down the line you will get the benefits of it. Here again a concept of this carbon credit. This concept, if we introduce, though it is mandatory, it's not mandatory in India, in our projects to make them viable, we need to have, we have already in India lined up a consultant. They have given some output where we can assign some price to the carbon we emit. And if we reduce that carbon emission, we can assign the capex accordingly, downwardly, which will make the particular project more viable. So this is how we can say that the refinery or the industry will automatically improve its carbon footprint. The second part is the technology. The technology that we require to improve our carbon footprint helps us in measuring what we are emitting now, and then we can take decision on how we can go ahead. Adoption of the technology is critical because that involves everyone's involvement. The people down below need to appreciate, suppose a software I have purchased and I have put in our system, which will measure our carbon footprint, and then it will give suggestions where to reduce your steam, your power, or how to adjust your system. It will give some suggestions. There are softwares in the market. Here the user acceptability is important. Here it is not being thrust. It is something that you have to have the buy-ins of the users. They have to appreciate that this software is going to help me in reducing my footprint. This software is giving good outputs. So here we need to, as leader, we need to engage with our people down below, the users, and help them realize that such softwares are eventually going to help us. So these are some of the things that we need to do, and probably we need to do course correction and do recalibration of a system every step, so that we can ensure that we always align ourselves with the recent developments that's happening in the world. Thank you.
Well said, Sarkar sir. Though both of us belongs to the industry which has got the product which is contributing to GHG emission maximum, but still fossil fuels are here to stay for a long time now. The only thing is we need to intensify our renewables efforts like never before, so that we can bring this change of zero goal zero emissions and net zero targets within the stipulated time. Our Prime Minister have given the target. So taking forward to from where Mr. Sarkar left, I would like to ask Mr. Rajat Kumar that how can our organizations balance the need for short-term efficiency and productivity gains as of now, with the longer-term investments and behavioral changes required to achieve sustainable, clean operations, and what matrices or benchmarks can be used to measure these progresses?
Great question. In broader spectrum of things, any of these changes, and specifically whether it is short term or long term that we want to adopt, has to be derived out of the vision of the organization. For example, Cummins' own vision is making people's life better by powering a prosperous world. So this vision further disintegrates to what, both how we operate, what kind of our products are, and collectively what kind of impact it can have on the world. How can we be thriving with the business, but in a sustainable manner. So to drive it, the vision into further breaking down into goals for, the usual process of leadership, taking into the long-term goals, 5 years, 10 years, and then down the line it is getting penetrated to, the manager level where you have yearly goals, you have KPIs to manage the whole performance so that the complete organization is marching towards the vision. Now, whenever we work out a long-term goal, there are multiple elements which gets worked out. Your product, your business is one aspect, but how it will be deployed, who are your partners, what kind of engagement stakeholders will need, whether you will have evolved stakeholders or not, that itself will be a big question. And it is always an incremental approach that we adopt. Wherein you start slow, but gradually as the change evolves, as the atmosphere becomes suitable, as the government policies, regulations are also establishing that ecosystem, this will further roll down to bigger investment, bigger actions, and bigger strides towards their goals. The major elements apart from an organization's customers is the key stakeholders where they are actually doing their business. Again, taking context of how Cummins does it. Cummins has a vision of 2050 again, which correlates to that we will be net zero for all our operations, for all our products. We have India as a nation which has 2070 as a target. In broader spectrum, we have again broken it down to 2030 goals. We published our first sustainability report in 2001, and from there we have been taking short goals. We took first stride of goals, short-term goals in 2005, 2012, 2018, and now we have 2030 goals, which are highly impactful, and our baseline is also continuously changing. For our 2030 goals, it is not our 2000 operations, it is our 2018 performance which will serve as a baseline. If we want to reduce the GHGs, it is 50% to what we were in 2018, irrespective of how much increment in terms of our top line has already produced. Our India operations, where we have already done like almost 2.5x of what we were in 2018. We are still going strong on our sustainability commitments. The target of 50%, we are already there, where we have cut down to 21%, and water, which is an important element where we are targeting 30% fresh water intake reduction, we are at 18%. And all of these achievements, even till now, required a very consistent effort right from top leadership to the middle management, as well as down the line each and every employee. When top leadership sets the long-term objects, the middle management ensures that the sync is working, the organization functioning, and it is oiled up to kind of speeding up towards that target. We have broken down those targets to regions, to the sites, to the departments, to each of our product output. And we have collective commitment towards ensuring that those deliveries are consistently happening. Performance matrices, again, it has to be broken down to what your top broader levels are, which I just detailed out as 2030. But we have our own yearly targets as well, so that we are able to kind of working now. We adopt low cost projects which are deployed within 3 or 4 months. We get results under 1 year, and those are funded through a central fund. Globally, we have a central fund. Anybody can tap into it, and there's no restriction which region or which country will be able to tap how much of that fund. If you have a project, it can make an impact under 1 year, you can tap the fund. Similarly, we have a eco hopper, as we call it, a huge list of projects that we drive. Just from India, we execute almost 350 projects every year at an average for last 4 years. And globally, we have this eco hopper funnel done. It is targeting 3 years ROIs as well as the impact that can have. So these projects will get priorities. At Seconds, for example, we already had got priorities on solar, on-site solar. And now most of our sites have on-site solar and everything, capacity is all exhausted. And now we can head to the PPs. It was not PPs because had we taken the option of PPPs in first go, then we wouldn't have put in the on-site solar because we will anyhow be getting those benefits straight away. So these are like kind of commitments over long-term goal and breaking down into short.
Excellent. But what about, I talked about the benchmark, and how do you measure it actually? Because you need to monitor your progress.
Exactly.
That for a clean development, for a sustainable development, what are the tools? Any one of you would like to answer, Sarkar sir?
Yeah, the tools, like we have internal as well as external tools. For benchmarking, we have some consultants also who can tell you about the best practices. And we ourselves, we can engage some software developers to implement certain tools, which will give you where you are, and then we'll measure and see how much we are improving. So it is important to see what the world is doing. The problem over here is that the technology is still evolving. And since the technology is evolving, initially there are two factors which goes against this decarbonization. One is the money, the capex involved is high, and second part is the uncertainty involved in it. So since the uncertainty is high, people are little wary about investing over there. And what people would prefer to do and what everyone is doing now, wait and watch and see, let others adopt that. That becomes the benchmark, and then you start doing it. So here again, the policy as a responsible corporate may be that irrespective whether I gain or not, just to give the message that I'm concerned about my environment. Some of our industries can take the initiative, and many of our industries are doing that. Even our private sector industries have declared many green initiatives. So they themselves can have the benchmark, and they say that I'll do this. Maybe everything might not be fructified, many things might fall apart, but still, if we have the deep pockets, we would be able to take those decisions and the intent. So even the international companies, they have also declared certain things, but down the year they have said, no, we'll go slow on this. So maybe we have to balance between the development and the decarbonization part. But there have been some regulations like CBAM in the Eurozone, where things will become mandatory for people to improve their performance. So that becomes a benchmark, that whatever product you are going to supply to Europe, it has to have some green footprint. Now the renewable industries in India, they are getting overbooked. They are telling that I have so much, I'm setting up a solar power plant. I do not have booking in advance, but I'm sure I'll get the bookings, I'll set it up, and then people will come and take power from me. Because this CBAM is one part, our own regulations is one part. So these benchmarks have to be there on a continuous basis. It's a dynamic thing, and we have to see which benchmark to adapt to. Our industry is suited for which benchmark.
And Mr. Govind has a point.
Yes, I would like to add to where Mr. Subhajit sir left it, and adding to what Rajat was talking on it. Yes, of course, it is a top-driven approach you're saying, and that it has a lot to do with how the government has been very supportive with the schemes in the last decade, maybe we can say, like when it came to mandatory blending, ethanol blended program, like where government set a benchmark, and it is surprising, maybe 10 years or 12 years behind, if we talk about blending of ethanol, maybe reaching 15% target, that target would have looked unachievable. That now where we stand now, we have achieved 15% blending, and we are moving forward towards achieving 20% blending well before the target year of 2030. So government has played an important role in setting the benchmark and also ensuring that ecosystem which is required for that is also developed. It has been a lot supported by the government policies. If I talk about ethanol and biogas, I'll just like to brief on ethanol and biogas, how these biofuels has been, even though it was in existence from a long time, it has, the business, the biofuel market has got traction in recent years, mainly supported by the government policies. Now, the government has introduced administered pricing for ethanol and mandating all the OMCs to uplift ethanol from the manufacturers. so that the ethanol manufacturers also have a minimum price, they have a benchmark price to look forward to, so that their bottom lines are protected. And bringing biogas, like the government target of reaching 15% of natural gas being a part of the energy mix, and government has mandated that at least 5% of the natural gas which is to be marketed has to be blended with biogas. So that has helped in biogas manufacturers to look forward to developing the ecosystem, and government has brought in policies so that the biogas produced can be integrated with the gas grid so that it can reach other places. Bringing in GAIL as a partner so that tripartite agreements could be made with the CGT players and ensure that whatever compressed biogas is being produced is being uplifted. So all this actually has really helped in developing the ecosystem, and I feel it has got a lot to do with whatever the improvements what we are seeing in the current times.
Yeah, in this regard, I would just like to add what Mr. Govind has said, that with this ethanol, the target, as you rightly said, was 20% in MS. Now, the oil industries will be achieving the 20% target next year. Now the target has been revised, and of course I would appreciate the government also. They have been constantly engaging with the stakeholders, and they have been revising the target to make it more stringent. If you remember, when we shifted from BS4 to BS6, only 3 years were given. So 2017, India became 100% BS4, and by 2030, the regulation was there to shift to BS6 within 3 years, and none other country in the world could achieve this feat. This was possible because of government's constant calibration of the environment and engaging with the stakeholders. They got the assurance from the stakeholders that it is possible and we can do it. Similarly, in the case of ethanol also, 20% will be reaching by 2025. There are certain other issues which is concerned related to the automobile industry, where the
we have achieved that target much before.
Much before.
Yeah.
And for diesel also, the government has a sort of I would say incentive by imposing a penalty that for diesel also by 2025, 1st of April 2025, if you don't have 1% biodiesel in your diesel, then you will be required to pay an excise of 2 rupees per litre. So that is driving the whole system, the ecosystem over here. And 1% is, India is probably producing around 100 million tons of diesel per annum. And 1% is 1 million ton of biodiesel, which is a huge amount. So that, but government is constantly encouraging the stakeholders to develop the ecosystem. They are giving incentives to those who are producing the biodiesel, who are importing also. So initially, government is not averse to imports. But once the ecosystem is made, slowly we are switching towards Atmanirbharta. So this is how the whole system, it is very encouraging that India is having these sort of plans, and they are constantly engaging so that we can tell about each other's thoughts. The automobile industry, the CM also have been playing a big role, and we have been consulting CM regarding the capability of the engines. One thing just I would like to share here is adding ethanol to MS reduces the efficiency to a certain extent, but that improves the overall ecosystem because ethanol comes from the poor farmers and all. So, and the petrol, the MS is being used by the ones who can afford it, the so-called the middle and upper class of the society. So that sort of thought is actually helping the country to take the whole thing forward. So we also have realized that using ethanol, as the percentage of the ethanol goes up in the MS, the efficiency is going down, but we don't mind because the system is improving as well.
Thank you, Sarkar sir. Whenever we try to do something new, there is always a resistance to change, right? So, Mr. Rajat, like industry as a whole, not about the hydrocarbon or motor industry. So, as an industry as a whole, organization, how to address these potential barriers to change, such as resistance from your employees, stakeholders, consumers, and with limited resources or competing priorities, and what strategies can be employed to build a coalition of support for clean system initiative? Rajat ji, if you can.
I think in broader scheme, when I see this as a conflicting situation, it all starts with communication actually. How if the vision has evolved, if we have set our goals on site, how it is being communicated to all the stakeholders.
Just a minute. And is industry facing such impending issues? Exactly?
Oh yes, yes. It is everywhere, isn't it? We all are in transition times now. If energy as a whole, we are looking towards hydrogen, internal combustion engines. We are forecasting it will be, they'll be gone in another 10, 15 years. If not 15 years, 20 years, of course, they will be gone. But to adapt new technologies, whether it is fuel cells, batteries, hydrogen, there will be tussles which will play around. Products is one side of things. Organizations' own process, own existing norms. A company like ours, which is in existence for 100 plus years, changing the whole, scheme of how we operate, how we look towards situations, how we look for problems, is completely evolved. I'll give you an example of it. To avoid this conflict, Cummins itself has separated out Accelera. Accelera is Cummins' 100% owned entity, and it deals with all new energies, so that they have no interventions from existing Cummins mindset which can impede their progress. So you develop your own products, you push it through the market, the money is there, and you are completely independent. But had this been, correlated completely, as in had it been driven together, there will be conflicts which will arise. There will be priorities, there will be old thinking, there will be, preset mindsets which will logically will play around. The big factor in all these things are the main stakeholder, which is the employees or the people who drive these changes. I think effective communication, again I would say right from the top, on how it needs to be done, the commitment, once the decision, how together we are moving towards that decision plays a most critical element. And this communication effect is taken to the context of other stakeholders, whether it is the community where you operate, whether it is the authorities that you deal out with, whether it is your customers, brings out the complete, kind of structure, how it will play out. But all these changes has to be incremental. It cannot be
absolutely, and the collaborative approach the government of India with Mission Life,
yes,
and Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, and many other initiatives by the government of India, by involving all the industries, the complete Indian population is the right way to go, the collaborative approach with everyone, right?
absolutely correct.
So with that, I will come to Mr. Govind, that what is the role of technology and innovation in enabling this clean system transition, and how can organization leverage digital tools, data analytics and other solutions to drive sustainable operation and supply chain management?
Coming on to the intervention of technology, I would like to take the example of our own industry, biofuel industry. I'll take a compressed biogas, CBG sector. So with the advancements in technology, we have been able to create a lot of value-added products from along with the manufacturing of biogas. One is that just to give an overview of how the industry is, like feedstock, there are different kinds of feedstock which can be used for manufacturing of biogas. It can be agriculture waste. It can be from sugarcane we get press mud, which can be used, municipal waste. All these are can be used for the manufacturing of biogas. So it was there in existence earlier also, and people used to use it and generate gas for meeting their own fuel requirement. For a small localized industry or a small unit to meet their power requirements, this fuel was used. With the advancements of technology, the biogas, what has been produced, has been able to meet high methane content, more than 98% methane content. Our biogas plant, we are able to achieve more than 98% methane content, so that it is capable of substituting natural gas. So we are actually filling the biogas, whatever we are making, and it has been purified to a great extent. The initial challenge which was before the biogas industry, the raw biogas which was being produced had a high sulfur content, which is corrosive in nature. Then moisture content, sulfur and both moisture are both corrosive in nature. So suppose it is being fed into a pipeline, the chances that the pipeline get corroded. And high carbon dioxide content, which is in fact brings down the calorific value. So technology has enabled the new membrane technology, scrubber technology, a lot of technology has come up by which this carbon dioxide could be removed, and it again can be used for like industrial application. The carbon dioxide, whatever is being removed in a biogas industry, we are using it for industrial application. Sulfur removed is being used as a biosulfur, where a sulfur application is there. It is in fact, it can be mixed back to the organic manure to enrich it further. Then there's a fermented organic manure which is being produced as a byproduct, which is also enriched by using enzymes. It can be ensured that it is rich in bionutrients, and it can be used by the farmers. So as such, all these products are sellable in nature. Like we get revenue from sale of fermented organic manure, carbon dioxide, sulfur, along with biogas. So technology has definitely played an important role in ensuring the viability of all these plants, and that it could be further integrated along with the conventional energy what is being used. That's how it is.
Yeah, thank you. So I would like to pose the last question before the Q&A. So I just from all of you, one by one, that what should be the way forward that this industry ensure that their clean system initiatives are equitable, inclusive, and just, and that they benefit not only the organization but also the broader community and environment, and what measures or framework industry should take and help the social and environmental impacts of these initiatives. So Sarkar Sahab, to begin with you.
Yeah, so this question itself, thankfully, does not quite contradict with the societal framework. I mean to say that if we try to reduce the impact on the environment of our operations, the society benefits of it, and at the same time, the corporate also benefits from the point of view of better efficiency, from the point of view of better footprint, because carbon trading will become a reality anytime in the future. And once we imbibe that feeling in us, and once we have that goal in every decision that we take, that our operations has to necessarily be net zero operation. Now, what we are doing right now is, we are setting things right. Whatever we have done in the past, we want to bring it down to net zero by various measures. But for our all future initiatives, the initiatives itself should be such that we are net zero from day one only. So like we used to have those green belts around our installations, so that is nothing but a step towards partial reduction of the, I won't say a net zero, but net reduction. So now the narrative should be on net zero from day one. Now, net zero will obviously benefit the society. Now, when it comes to the stakeholders, suppose who are the suppliers to us, we are moving from, say, fossil fuel towards petrochemicals, I would say for my industry. So, the ecosystem which is related to the supply of fossil fuels, like the products which you are getting, those products are being modified and made into some other form and being sold. There's a big ecosystem which thrives around this fossil fuel industry that will suffer. A big corporates might not suffer because they are having the wherewithals to switch. And the switch also, as Mr. Rajat said, will be incremental. But so we have to take care of the society and enable our stakeholders to affect that switch. If some producer who have been supplying us a component which is related to the fossil fuel, their business might get wrapped up. So in that case, we have to engage with them and see. The government policies also has to come in place to ensure that the small stakeholders do not suffer, so that the country as a whole doesn't suffer. There are ways and means by which we can do this. Now, when it comes to this particular issue of going towards a future which is conducive for everyone's growth. That point has to be hammered into the people's brain that this is for your good only. Maybe for the time being you are suffering, but later on it's going to improve, environment is going to improve and everything. One thing that we don't quite address, we are talking about the air pollution. The water pollution is also a very big problem, and where many stakeholders are involved in that also. So the treatment of the water that we are using. So if people who are into some other business, they are brought into this water treatment, they can thrive in that system. So it's a system where everyone should constantly calibrate, engage with people, engage into dialogues, and then come out with some solution. And that solution need not be a permanent one. It has to be kept on rooted through course correction paths.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give my point of view more on operational context. Broadly, inclusivity is the key word. So, inclusivity where you are operating, the nearby society, whether it is villages, whether it is towns or cities, there has to be a balanced approach around it. Your business operations should have that inclusive approach of taking care of those people as well. So what are we doing to make sure that their life is impacted? It is not about financial upliftment, it is also about how their overall life is improved. They should have a better air, better quality of water availability, they should have better education system. The women empowerment initiatives are there. So these are some of the examples with which Cummins operate in and around their operational zones. We have a biggest setup in India in a water scarce area, and it was intentionally put in there because one of the core element how we operate is on how can we have a positive impact on the society. So the region is called Fulton, and compared when you see the 10 kilometer beyond area and what is nearby the Cummins operated villages and the area, the water table index and everything there is a huge difference. And there have been consistent efforts from employees because we have some mandates around how much employees are putting in as CSR hours every year, and those are particularly focused on where we operate. So I believe inclusivity and how we take everybody along while we develop and we make sure that people's lives are getting better is the most important element.
Thank you, Mr. Govind.
Yeah, I would like to take a holistic view on who are the beneficiaries going to be. Definitely the country is going to benefit by significant reduction in foreign exchange, by reduction purchase of crude oil, definitely going with the greener and sustainable alternate fuels. The agriculture sector is definitely going to improve. They're going to benefit because they're going to get some revenue out of whatever their agriculture waste is there, or which is going to be used as feedstock for renewable industry. It will generate local employment, which again is beneficial for all. So I think it is going to be a holistic development for all, and we should be looking forward for this change. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. So before I open the house for question and answer, so to tackle industrial pollution, what I understand, the way forward should be, I could gather from all my panelists, we need to have strict regulation and enforcement. You must be. Do you agree with that? Absolutely, it's most necessary. Then cleaner production technologies, renewable energy resources, waste reduction and management, then public awareness and education, community engagement and participation, the R&D of new sustainable technologies, international cooperation and agreement. So furthermore, I think Mr. Sarkar want to say something just to summarize. Now you can summarize it.
No, just in just this point of inclusivity came So big corporates are there. They have their own sense of understanding of the future. But in order to take the country as a whole towards the 2070 target of net zero, we need to engage with the smaller industrial partners. When you go down the highway to a different city, when you cross some industrial areas, you will find very small industries which are emitting black smoke into the atmosphere. And those people, those organizations are the ones who do not have the wherewithals to shift, to make any changes in their system. So, and if you sum it up, our total emission of 3 gigatons per annum will be contributed at least 50% by those small unorganized sector, if you leave aside the scope 3 emission. So that sector also needs to be addressed. They have to be enabled to go for that shift. So for this, the government is having a role. Secondly, when we come to this life cycle costing, so those small industries are part of that big supply chain. So if the industries are enabled by the bigger conglomerates who take their products, if they can enable them to invest into some green initiatives, then the whole ecosystem will thrive. And maybe at times the big industries might not get the incentive to invest in those other companies. So there the government intervention is again required, which is being done elsewhere in Europe and US. And the technologies that I was talking of, the technology part was discussed. We have many technologies like this carbon capture, utilization and storage, where Indian Oil has been, CCUS has been engaged with ONGC, Oil India, for capturing the carbon dioxide from the refinery emissions and storing in the depleted oil fields. And there is a concept of enhanced oil recovery, where this carbon dioxide helps to take out some extra oil which otherwise wouldn't have come up. But that again is hitting a roadblock.
Norway is taking up in big way. That you must have heard about a project like Northern Lights.
Northern Lights has come up in a good way, big way. But this EOR is now looked down upon because that is adding to the fossil fuel. So everything is very fluid, and the decisions that we as the leaders of the industry take will actually decide the future of the country. So we should play a very responsible role in deciding the future path of the country. And the ministry has always been engaging people like us to give our comments and see to it that we are on the right track.
Well, thank you, sir. So now I open the house for question and answer. 3 questions we can take. So raise your hand, ask for the mic. Anybody? Oh, please. You can take this mic.
Good afternoon. I am Gaurav from Indian Oil. My question is to Mr. Govind. See that how the biofuels are changing and how it is taking the footprint in the energy market. So how do you see, what are the challenges that you see in terms of the demand of CBG and how it will be taking place and replacing NG? Because in IOCL also have some CBG plants. So some issues that we are facing is respect to the feed and quality of the feed, continuation of the feed and the supply chain. How you see or how do you foresee the future of the feed availability and ensuring the amount of energy that is, because considering CBG is the future and the quantum of CBG that will be required in the future, feed is going to play a major role and running those plants at 100% capacities. So how do you see the role CBG is going to play and how to tackle the supply chain issues?
So I think the main issue with the CBG you have already mentioned is the biggest issue what CBG industry is facing now is the continuous supply of feedstock. And when we talk about the feedstock, we talk about the quantity as well as the quality of the feedstock. Now, basically the feedstock which is being used in is agricultural residue. It can be municipal waste, it can be animal waste, it can be press mud, different kind of feedstocks are available which can be used. The biggest challenge is ensuring that a continuous supply of the same is available. Now, if you say agriculture waste, we know that it is a seasonal, again seasonal in nature. So when we talk about running a biogas plant, it necessarily has a biodigester where the microbes acts upon the whatever residue is there and where biogas is produced. So unless we are able to ensure that this continuous feed is there, the microbes in the biodigester will die, and eventually again we have to restart it again. Of course, there are procedure for hibernating it in between and all, but then if continuous supply of feedstock is not there, that is the biggest challenge. The other challenge is how do we ensure that, suppose there's a sufficient transportation cost involved in bringing the feedstock, how do we address that? So government has come up with few policies, government is giving subsidy for machinery for segregation of this agriculture waste, for machinery related to that. I understand that government is again coming up with a policy for helping with the subsidy on the procurement, transportation, the logistics cost which is involved so that the supply chain issue can be resolved. That is it. So how the biogas industry is seeing it, if we take our example, we have a biogas plant which runs on press mud, which is in fact, which is a byproduct of, after distillery ethanol is produced, it is a byproduct of that. But we cannot ensure that the biogas plant will run 24/7, all 12 months a year on press mud alone. So we are looking forward for what other alternatives we can be used along with the press mud. So spent wash, which in fact was again another byproduct which we used to use as a fuel for the boiler. So we have found that can be used with some technology interventions as again as a fuel for this, as a feedstock for the biogas industry. So of course there are challenges. Again, if you come to municipal waste, like we all know that particularly in metros, there are sufficient quantity of municipal waste available. But then issue is with the segregation. If it is not properly segregated, it may choke your biodigester, which may again create an issue. And if you have in the byproduct is the organic manure, which is again given to the farmers, if they are having traces of plastic, that is again a challenge. So of course, it is an industry with a lot of challenges, like you rightly mentioned. But I'm happy that going forward, the government also has identified these challenges and trying to tackle it. Even CBG players also are trying to bring in technology which a different kind of this feedstock can be used in the same biogas industry. I think it is a very relevant question. Thank you for posing that question. Thank you.
Well, anybody else? Only one question, or other people are not interested for clean development? On the lighter side, thank you very much. So we can end the session here. Thank you, gentlemen.